I want to love this so much. I really do. But there's just something that's not sitting right with me. Welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. I'm the Whiskey Chaser Brian. I hope you're keeping well. New to the show today, we have the newest addition to the Gold Spot range. They are calling this the Gold Spot Generations, and it is a 13-year-old pot still Irish whiskey, finished for 16 months in Recchiato della Valpolicella wine casks from Italy. Mucho fancy. Totally butchered that name. Now, I did a bottle share of this with a bunch of like-minded individuals, so the costs were shared. However, this retails for an eye-watering €150. It's 46% ABV, and it's a celebration of both Mitchell & Sons and Secondo Marco Winery in Italy. That's the cutback lean version of the press release. The things I do for you. So what do you get for your hard-earned €150? You get, as I said, a 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, 13-year-old pot still Irish whiskey that has been finished in bourbon, sherry, and 16 months in Valpolicella wine casks. What is Valpolicella wine, you ask? Well, it's a red wine blend from the Veneto region of Italy. It's typically made from 3 grape varieties, leans heavily on the Corvina Veronese grape, and also can use Rondinella and Molinaro grape in its makeup. Thank you, Wikipedia. So alongside Valpolicella being made within the Veneto region, you also get Recchiato desert wine and Amarone wine styles. A lot of whiskey drinkers here in Ireland will be more familiar with the Amarone wine finishes, as we've had a few releases here that have utilized those casks. The wine casks themselves were selected from the Secondo Marco Winery, a company founded by Marco Sperry, whose family have worked the soils of Valpolicella for 7 generations to produce world-class wines. Secondo Marco's casks, sourced from Fiumane, I'd say, in the heart of Valpolicella Classica winemaking region, infuse this Gold Spot expression with distinct floral, spicy, and even wine-driven notes. A 16-month maturation period creates layers of complexity that enhance Gold Spot's more traditional, fruit-forward flavor profile. And that is entirely the press release talking. You're welcome. So is it any good, you say? Well, I've done enough babbling, so let's pour. Let's find out. Nice cork pop though. Ooh. Now, it is this time roughly last year that I did a video on the 9-year-old Gold Spot release, which was a 51% ABV Irish whiskey using both Bordeaux and port casks, also bourbon and sherry in its maturation. And I didn't like it when it was first released and I first had it at Whiskey Live. But to be fair, I'll be honest, when I went back and sat down and tasted it properly, it turned out to be something I really enjoyed. And even back then it was €125, I bought another bottle of it. So will I be doing that again here? Let's see. Did I get a goddamn fly in that? So on the nose. Ooh, you get that spot DNA straight away. Toasted oak from the bourbon, some apple notes, dried fruits from the sherry, and then this lovely, lovely jam or like a fruit compote note over the top of all that. It's subtle, it is subtle, but I have to admit it does work really well with the bourbon and sherry notes, the toasted oak. And of course that spot DNA, that distillate that Middleton create for this whiskey. As you kind of agitate it a bit more, it does get just that little bit more nutty kind of towards the end. And one thing I noticed when I was trying it a week or so ago is that it gets a little bit more maple syrupy or kind of brown sugary. And some people will decipher that in 1 or 2 ways. But the fruity aspect I really love, and it works very well with the bourbon and the sherry notes. I can't really fault it on the nose. If I had one fault, maybe I would prefer the whole nose to be turned up a little. It is 46%. I know the last one was 51, was a cask strength. But that's a minor gripe, to be fair. Minor gripe. Quite nice, subtle, subdued, a little bit fruity. Bourbon Oloroso doing their thing. Spot DNA. All right, so on the palate, and to be fair, I've had a small drop of this already, and I know that those fruit notes transition nicely to the palate. So we're just gonna confirm that now. Fruit notes transition over, of course, along with the bourbon, the toasted oak notes. I'm gonna say bourbon, that's what I mean, is toasted oak notes and the sherry sweetness. Think figs, a little bit raisiny, but kind of definitely sweet overtone notes, and also incorporating that nuttiness. The same thing is happening now that happened before, and this is a fundamental flaw that I see with this whiskey. And it has absolutely nothing to do with flavor, because it is quite delicious. However, it is so thin on the palate. It's like a water-like texture on the palate, that kind of thinniness to it. I mean, you would expect for a pot still whiskey, it would have a real nice kind of creaminess to it and thickness to it. The original Green Spot is like a bowl of soup compared to this. That's my only gripe with it on the palate, how thin it is. And it was the first thing that popped into my head the last time. And the nose was doing so well, and I'll have another one, just to confirm, just, you know. There's nothing wrong with the flavor profile. It feels like water. It's just so bloody thin. That aside though, flavor profile is very nice. The nose was nice. The palate, taste-wise, flavor-wise, quite nice. You know, those notes on the nose transition a bit to the notes on the palate, although you're probably getting a little bit more nuttiness on the palate. But the finish just stays going. I mean, along with the nose on this is one of my favorite parts of the whiskey. The flavors just hang tight. Like, it's just crazy. Like nutty, sweet fruits and kind of oak just hang out, and quite tannic. Not overly spicy. 46% ABV, could live with that. Doesn't absolutely whack your senses, your mouth, your palate, and kill it. But yeah, stand by for my opinion. So look, in my opinion, it's a good whiskey to an extent. It's not a great whiskey. In my opinion, it's certainly not a €150 whiskey, unfortunately. Some people will really like the flavor profile. It is delicious. It's just that thin profile on the palate for me is hard to get past, especially since lately, you know, I'm really trying to elevate my tasting experiences with whiskey and understand a lot more than just having a nice flavor profile, which is a lot of it, but there's more to it than that. And this is not hitting that creaminess at all for me. Now, to some, that's enough and that's cool. Taste is subjective, and I implore you to definitely try this. And I don't want to bash anyone's hard work, which I hope I'm not doing. I'm just being honest. But instead of giving it a rating, I had a good question that I think would better sum up my verdict of this and put a little bit of perspective on it. In 6 or 12 months' time, will I still be talking about this whiskey? My answer is no, not really. And if I was, it wouldn't be for all the right reasons. I'll just say that. If you want to try it, great, do, please. But there are 2 whiskeys that come to mind that I think your money will be better spent on. Firstly, Green Spot Chateau Leoville Barton for about €70, can't be bad. And good old Yellow Spot 12-year-old for about €85. You cannot go wrong with those 2 whiskeys. Now, this whiskey here will be available in limited quantities in the USA, Ireland, UK, France, Travel Retail Ireland, and Brand Homes from March 2024. That's this month. Be sure to like and follow. Thumbs up if you like that. Chat soon. Sláinte.